Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. In this video I'm going to be starting off looking at the theme decks from Planeshift, which is the second set in the Invasion block. So I'm going to start off by looking at Barrage, which is a red and green deck. Let's have a look at the deck list. So we have 27 creatures, a lot of creatures, 5 instants, 2 sorceries, 3 enchantments, 23 land, and we've got a mana curve off to the side there. So let's start looking at these many creatures. So I guess the big theme of the deck is Kavu, which is this creature type that was introduced in Invasion. It's just a sort of a tribe that's across green and red. There are a few in other colours, but it's mostly green-red. So we have 2 Alpha Kavu, which is 3 mana for a 2/2, gives you Kavu -1/+1 till end of turn. Kind of a weird buff for a green card to give. Normally it should be just usually +1/+1. So I'm not sure why this is -1/+1, but I mean that just makes it weird, I think. But it is one of the few tribal effects in the deck. Amphibious Kavu, whenever it blocks or becomes blocked by one or more blue and or black creature, gets +3/+3 to end of turn. So that makes it a respectable 5/5 for 3 mana. Obviously against decks that aren't running blue or black, it's kind of not as efficient, but you know, it's fine for what it does. Serpentine Kavu, 4/4 for 5. You can pay a red to give it haste until end of turn. This base just means it's 6 mana for a 4/4 haste, because you know, haste is only an ability that matters on the turn you play it, usually. One of the rares of the deck is Gaia's Herald, so not a Kavu, but just a 1/1 elf. Creature spells can't be countered by spells or abilities. It is a symmetrical effect, annoyingly. It doesn't say your creature spells, it is all creature spells, your opponents as well. Like it's a okay as a rare in this deck. I'm not sure it entirely fits. And like this only matters against if you're playing against a blue deck. That really only matters because that's blue's obviously the only really color that can counter creature spells. So yeah, just a weird choice to have like quite a niche rare like this in a pre-constructed deck. Then we have some more Kavu. So Caldera Kavu is what 2/2 for 3, and you can pay 1 color, 1 black to give it +1/+1 to the turn, and pay a green so it can become the color of your choice until end of turn. So a lot of these kind of color matters abilities in this block. What sort of annoys me, and I've sort of gone over this in some of the invasion theme decks we've looked at already, is that this is it's technically a 2-color deck. I'm not sure if there's any way of getting black mana in this deck. I think there might be. I think there's fertile ground, but you have a creature here which has an ability that requires a color that you can't reliably generate. I just think it's like a weird decision to put that into the deck. I think it would just lead to kind of a lot of frustration if you were playing this out of the box. So kind of a weird decision to do that. 2 Flame Tunkavu. This guy is great. This is one I would say has a guess. This is one of the best red creatures that's sort of really ever been printed. Like 4 mana for a 4/2 is like that's okay. That's an okay rate. But when it enters play, does 4 damage to target creature. 4 damage is a huge amount of damage. That would have reliably killed a lot of creatures that are around at the time. And yeah, it's just really excellent creature. Really like Flame Tunkavu. So yeah, definitely star of the deck, I think. And having 2 of them is even better. And then a Cavalry Recluse who's just a 2/2 for 3. We see that stat line quite a lot around this time, kind of like Grey Ogre stat. It just taps and turns the land into a forest until end of turn, which can help your mana fixing, I suppose. Like if you have too many mountains and you need an extra green, okay, you can do that. If you had anything with Forest Walk, I suppose, which I don't think there's anything with Forest Walk in this deck, but there's an option there. And also, I mean, you could use this, I suppose, to like mess up like an opponent's land, their mana, I guess. I don't know. And then Horned Kavu, so 2 of these. So this uses a mechanic that was kind of a gimmick in Planeshift, is this kind of what was called gating. So gating creatures are they're usually 2 colors, and they're quite efficiently costed for their stats. So Horned Kavu is 1 red, 1 green for 3/4, which is pretty good. But the downside is when they come into play, you return a creature that shares a color with them back to your hand. That has, that can have some synergy. One of the decks I'm going to look at, the next one actually, Come Back, has a lot of synergy based around that. In here, it's not so much, but this is really nice to bounce Flame Tongue Kavu back so you can get another use out of it. We also have Sparkcaster, who's another one of these gating creatures. 5/3 for 4. When it enters play, it deals 1 damage to target player, and when it comes into play, you return a red or green creature you control to its owner's hand. If you really needed to, you could return it to your, so you could play it and then straight away return it, and kind of have this very expensive, like sorcery speed 4 mana 1 damage burn spell, which is not efficient. But if you really, really needed to, you could do that. Then we have Root Greeval. It's 4 mana for a 2/3, and you can pay 2 and a green, tap, sacrifice it, destroy all enchantments of the color of your choice. That's okay. I think that's an alright ability to have, like a big kind of a targeted tranquility, I suppose it is. 1 Llanowar Elite. This is not great. 1 mana for a 1/1 with trample. If you kick it for 8 mana, it comes in with 5 counters. You don't want to spend 9 mana on a 6/6 trampler. Yeah, that's that's not a great use of mana. And then 2 Nomadic Elf. This is in pretty much every green deck in these invasion theme decks. 1 colors, 1 green for a 2/2, so it's a bear, but it has an ability which makes it better than a bear. So 1 color, 1 green. Add 1 mana of any 1 color to your mana pool. So this kind of quite inefficient filtering, but it's better than not having an ability at all, I suppose. And then we have a Thornscape Apprentice. Again, so these Scape Apprentices, I really like them. Thornscape, I think, is probably my favorite one. But again, it's this kind of thing. It has an ability that requires white mana, and it's a deck you can't reliably generate white mana, and it's just frustrating because his white ability is the better of the two. Although, I mean, like, First Strike is obviously very good, giving it to kind of all these big Kavu. But yeah, it's really that white ability to tap something down that makes him really good, and it's frustrating you wouldn't be able to use it. And 3 Thornscape Familiars. So this was a whole cycle in Planeshift, these Scape Familiars. So they're all, I think, 2 mana, and they give the ability to make spells of allied colours 1 less to cast, which is really good. This one's just a 2/1. All the others have like various abilities. The black one is probably the best one just because it has regeneration, so it makes it a really good chump blocker. But yeah, this one's fine. 2 Mog Jailers. I have no idea what Mog Jailer is doing in this deck. So it's a 2 mana for a 2/2, and its text box is all drawback. It can't attack if defending player controls an untapped creature with power 2 or less. It's just really bad. And it's uncommon, which, like, it's just, imagine opening a pack of Planeshift and getting one of these in the uncommon slot. It's just, that's horrible. And then the other card, I really have no idea why it's in this deck. Mog Sentry. 1 mana for a 1/1, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, it gets +2/+2 till end of turn. Okay, like, it's fine. I guess, but yeah, I just don't know what it's doing in here. It just doesn't really seem to fit, really. Yeah, weird choice of rares in this deck. And then we have Thunderscape Familiar. Same thing I've said with the Thornscape Familiar. It has an ability that you can't reliably use in this deck, but its green ability is pretty good. Just to give +1/+1 to the turn, that's quite good. Thunderscape Battle Mage. So this was the other Scape cycle added in Planeshift. So there's 4 Scape cards of each. There's an Apprentice, a Battle Mage, a Familiar, and a Master. And we've not seen a Master in any of these decks, which is a shame because the Masters are pretty cool. But Thunderscape Battle Mage, all the Battle Mages have like a double kicker ability, which is kind of fun. If you don't pay for any of their kicker, they're actually the kind of expensive whether you pay the kicker or not, because he's just a 3 mana for a 2/2. You have to pay the kicker cost to make these worthwhile. What's his black ability, which I say you can't reliably use, is discard 2. So that makes him, then 5 mana for a 2/2 that makes you discard 2. It's fine. and then his green is destroy an enchantment, which is probably a bit more useful. That makes him then. I mean, even then you're paying 4 mana for a 2/2 that just destroys an enchantment, which is again not wonderful. These are okay. The battle mages. I'm not off the top of my head. I can't really think of which is the best. But yeah, to get full effect out of this guy, you have to save up 6 mana, and yeah, I don't know. I used to really like them, and looking them back at them now, I don't think they're that great. And then another familiar, the Thunderscape one, who's a Kavu, finally again. Get another Kavu, who's a 1/1 first strike, and he makes black spells and green spells you play 1 less to cast. And then we also have a split card, Assault and Battery. Assault and Battery is really good. I think it's one of the better split cards. So the Assault side does 2 damage to a creature or player at sorcery speed. That's always useful. And Battery just makes a 3/3 elephant token, just so in case you need another body on the board. So yeah, I think Assault and Battery is really good because both sides are basically always useful. Yeah. And then we have some not great burn spells. So we have Magma Burst, which is 4 mana. 4 mana to do 3 damage to target creature or player, which is horrible. But it has a kicker where you can sacrifice 2 lands, which is horrible. And if you pay the kicker cost, it does 3 damage to another target creature or player. It does have to be a different creature or player. You can't double dip on the same target. So yeah, 4 mana and essentially stone raining yourself twice just to do 2 lots of 3 damage. I think that's just really horrible. I don't think that's good at all. Scorching Lava is just 2 damage for 2, but if you kick it, the creature if you target a creature with it, it can't regenerate, and if it would die, it gets exiled instead. That's okay, I guess. And Singe, which is Singe is so horrible again. 1 red mana to do 1 damage to target creature, and it becomes black until end of turn. Which this seems like a joke card almost, that like you're burning something until it's black. But yeah, just 1 damage for 1 mana is horrible, even with the color changing ability. I think this easily could have been 2 damage, or like draw a card, like anything like that. Just something extra to make it worth playing, because this is not worth including in the deck. It's just not. And then 1 Simoon, this is okay. 1 red, 1 green, do 1 damage to each creature an opponent controls. That's okay. It's only 1 damage, but it's fine. There's a lot of small creatures in this block, so this would have been fine at clearing the board a little bit. And it's not symmetrical, which is nice. And then we have an Implode. This is just Stone Rain with drawback, not a drawback at all. You draw a card, that's an upside, although it does make it much more expensive. But just 1 of them seems weird to just only have 1 of them. But then again, this is maybe a set where people are playing more than 1 color, so this could be a way of messing up their mana. But at 5 mana to cast this, they've probably already stabilized enough for it not to matter. Explosive Growth is the pump spell of the block, +2/+2. If you pay the kick cost, it gets +5/+5 until end of turn. That's very expensive. But again, if you've got the mana, I suppose. 2 Fertile Ground, so this is your way of generating white or black mana for your few cards that need it. Fertile Ground is just, I think, really good, really solid aura to whack on a land. And then Fires of Yavimaya. So an enchantment that gives all your creatures haste, and you can sacrifice it to give something +2/+2 till end of turn. Really good. I really like Fires of Yavimaya. Giving everything haste is quite a strong ability, and being able to sacrifice it just for the extra +2/+2 if you need it is pretty strong as well. So, what could have been? I just think needs more Kavu, honestly. It's annoying because in Invasion, there's some rares in there. There's a Kavu Lord, but the rule of theme decks is they only use rares from the set they're meant to be from, so couldn't include them. But yeah, Hunting Kavu, Kavu Chameleon, Pouncing Kavu, Yavimaya Kavu, I think these all would have been fine to put in. Kavu Chameleon especially, because it's very good. And Yavimaya Kavu would have been okay. You've got quite a lot of creatures, so he would have got up to a good size, and yeah. And as one of the rares, probably taking out the what was the res? Oh, the Mog Sentry. I'd take out the Mog Sentry, Shivan Worm. This is just another gating creature. 5 mana for a 7/7 trample, and you return a red or green creature to your hand. But you get you get a 7/7 trample for it for 5 mana. So yeah, definitely better than Mog Jailer, I think. So in summary, I think this is fine. I think as a deck, yeah, it's again like as most red green these theme decks are. It's like it's a little boring, honestly, because the strategy is obviously so simplistic. But at least there is this kind of extra little gimmick with the gating creatures. I just wish it had more kind of enters the battlefield effects to benefit from gating. But the next one we look at, Comeback, has that as kind of a core strategy. But yeah, I think this is perfectly fine. There's a few there's a few cards in there which like definitely should be cut. Like I don't understand why they were in there, like Singe or whatever. But yeah, overall this one's okay. But what did you think of this deck? Did you have this deck? Did you play it? Did you make any changes to it? Stick a comment below. I'd really like to know about it. But I'll be back next time to look at Comeback, which I've mentioned now a few times. But yeah, until then, thank you for watching and listening, and have a great day.